Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, everybody. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. أما بعد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Welcome everybody, mashallah, to day 3 of Marhaban Ya Ramadan, virtual camp for women and children. Alhamdulillah, for the past 2 days of learning together, enhancing each other's knowledge and experience in our virtual camp. Thank you for attending live, mashallah, and we are looking forward to start day 3 today. I just wanted to mention that this event was put together by Raising Young Scholars, outstanding Islamic online academy. We offer Islamic online courses, learning resources, as well as a blog where you can access a wealth of information on Islamic homeschooling and parenting. We also run Monday Musings, parenting podcast for Muslim families. We had 2 sponsors for this event, Alif Fund and Pure Matrimony. MashaAllah, may Allah accept it from them. And Pure Matrimony, they offer matrimonial service for practicing Muslims, and all their services are fully Sharia compliant. So do check out their website. So what do we have in store for you today? Inshallah, we have Dr. Laura joining us at our first session, inshallah, in a couple of minutes. And she will be delivering a workshop on nourishing your body as well as your spirit this Ramadan. And followed by Shafina Akhtar of Let's Talk About It UK, where she will be leading a webinar on digital detox, your ultimate guide for the best Ramadan. And then we have Hala Abdullah of Super Hawa. She will be teaching us how to make a simple but fun Quran reading tracker to use as a family this Ramadan, inshallah. So let me welcome, without a further ado, Dr. Lara Gibb. Many of you may be familiar with her already. She was a guest speaker on our platform on the Monday Musings podcast just a few weeks ago, mashallah. Dr. Lara is certified functional medicine health coach. She is passionate about healthy and holistic living. She's also a pediatrician, but turned out to stay-at-home mom of 3 children residing in Saudi Arabia at the moment. Dr. Lara, welcome aboard and over to you.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much. Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, as Iroda mentioned, I'm going to be talking about nourishing your body as well as your spirit this Ramadan, inshallah. And I'm going to start out just giving a couple minutes little story about myself. And I wanted to invite you all, while I'm doing that, if you wouldn't mind just writing in the comments where you're from and what are your greatest challenges to staying healthy in Ramadan. If you wouldn't mind just leaving that in the chat or in the comments. So just real quickly, my story, as Iroda mentioned, I worked as a pediatrician for about 6 years, and I have 3 kids, alhamdulillah. And during this time, actually, all 3 of my kids started to develop different health issues, different health challenges. And it was very frustrating to me because, you know, as a pediatrician, you would think that I would be able to help them with these health issues, but I really felt that there wasn't much that I could do for them other than, you know, giving them pharmaceuticals that have a whole host of side effects. And it was just very, you know, frustrating to me. So that kind of motivated me to start going down a different path of natural healing and prophetic medicine. And I started studying naturopathic medicine and herbal medicine. Luqman, she says, I always crave sugar after iftar. Yes, I think that's a common one for all of us. And yeah, so that kind of motivated me to go down this path of natural healing. And I've recently become certified as a functional medicine health coach. Yeah, so that's my story. So I will just dive right in here. Afreen from India says, cooking food for the entire family is her greatest challenge. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so I wanted to just start out giving 3 really quick, easy, these are like, I guess, my top tips for trying to stay healthy during Ramadan. So my first one is really to keep it simple. So, of course, everyone has to find, a way that works best for them and their family. But for us, I really like to focus on keeping things simple. So for example, for iftar, we'll just have a few dates and, I don't cook a lot of special dishes for Ramadan. We basically just eat the same way that we do during the rest of the month. My kids do love their sambusa, so I'll try to make some homemade sambusa, and I'll either cook it in the oven or in like an air fryer. But other than that, there's not really a lot of like special dishes that we do. So we'll just have a few dates at iftar, maybe some soup or a smoothie, something that's really hydrating and nourishing. And then we'll go to pray Maghrib and we'll come back and then, we'll just have like I said, we'll just have like a normal meal that we would normally have. I try to just focus on keeping it very nourishing, because we are only, we're eating less. Ideally, you're going to be eating less. So you want to make sure that each meal really counts and is as nourishing as possible. Okay, so some of the other comments, pregnancy and nutrition and getting hubby on board. Yeah, that's always a challenging one. Okay, so the second tip I would say is finding balance. So, you don't want to obviously be having a lot of carb heavy, especially these special foods that oftentimes we have at iftar time. They're very carb heavy, fried, high in sugar. So you want to try to limit those, and then you want to try to balance it with having, protein and healthy fats and, complex carbs rather than the simple carbs. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And so, yeah, so finding balance. And then, like I said, like my kids, they love their sambusa. So rather than making them feel like, oh, that's not healthy, you can't have that, and, making them feel like they're deprived the whole month, you can always try to find healthier ways to cook those favorites. Like I mentioned, the sambusa. I actually, this year, for the first time, I started making sourdough, like sourdough dough for the sambusa, and then I either bake it in the oven or make it in the air fryer. And then you can just try to fill it with some vegetables and protein, and just try to make it like as healthy as you can, so that they don't feel deprived, that they're missing out on what other people are having. And then the third one is mindful eating, and this is something that Iroda and we talked about when we did the Monday musings, and I wanted to talk about this again because I feel this is so important. So I just have a little slide here talking about mindful eating. So especially during Ramadan, like iftar time comes and we're so hungry and thirsty and tired, and a lot of times there's these yummy dishes on the table, and we end up just inhaling everything on the table, right? And then before we even know what happens, it's like, where did all that food go? So especially during Ramadan, I think this is really important to practice mindful eating. And mindful eating is basically really paying close attention to the food that's in front of you. And I just have 5 tips here on how you can eat more mindfully. So the first one is to put away all electronics or anything that might be distracting during the meal. The second one is, while you're preparing your food, actually to do that mindfully. So pay attention to how the food feels as you're cutting it up, how it smells as you're cooking it. And subhanAllah, when you do that, it actually, the part of your brain that prepares your body to accept all this nourishment. It actually activates that part of your brain, subhanAllah. Number 3 is to center yourself. So as you're sitting down to eat, just take a deep breath, sit down, say Bismillah, thank Allah for all the food in front of you, give a little thanks for all the people that contributed to that food reaching you. So whoever were the farmers that grew the food, yourself for preparing the food, just kind of give recognition and thanks for that. That will kind of help you to appreciate, the food a little better. And then number 4 is taking in the food with all of your senses. So you really want to just chew the food very slowly, pay attention to the flavors, the textures, the smell, how the colors, how the food looks, how it feels in your mouth. Really just kind of relish each and savor each bite. And, subhanAllah, there's a lot of actually digestive enzymes that are in the mouth. So when you're chewing the food completely and slowly, it's going to help you to digest your food even better. And then the last one is listen to your body. So, we all have these cues of, to tell us when we're full or when we need to eat more. But unfortunately, I think as children, we're still in touch with that. But as we grow older, a lot of us lose touch with those cues. So, just really paying attention to, do I really want to eat more? Am I really hungry? Do I really need to eat more? One thing that you can do with this is you can, have your first small plate of food and then just wait 5 minutes. And if you still feel that you're hungry and you want to eat more, then go ahead and have more, but just kind of paying attention to listening to your body and paying attention to what your body's telling you. Okay, so what should be on our iftar plate? So as I mentioned before, we want to have a balance of fiber, protein, healthy fats at each meal. And as I also mentioned, complex carbs instead of simple carbs. So we want to try to stay away from the white flour, the white sugar, white pasta, all of these simple carbs, because that's basically just going to spike up your blood sugar really quickly. And then your blood sugar is going to drop back down. And then you're just going to be craving those carbs, an hour or 2 hours later. And so, basically the entire night after iftar, your blood sugar is just going to be on this like roller coaster. So having complex carbs, whole grains and, things like sweet potato, these will really help to keep your blood sugar balanced through the rest of the night. You'll feel a lot better. When you go to pray Tarawih, you won't be feeling like you want to fall asleep. You'll have more energy. Limiting sugar, obviously, we all know, I think by now, all the harms of sugar, especially in drinks. A lot of people don't actually realize how much sugar they're consuming, just from drinks. So pay special attention to that. And then eating the rainbow. So I think many of you may have received this handout. If you didn't receive it, you can just go on Google and just type Phytonutrient Checklist, and you can download this. And it says here that it's for kids, but actually anybody can use this. And it's a really fun way to make sure that you're eating the rainbow. So it has each color, so red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, white, and tan, and then examples of different fruits and vegetables from each color. And then over on the right, it says weekly serving. So you have each day of the week, and you want to try each day, if you can, to consume 2 foods from each color. And this is, a really fun thing to do with kids. You can even make it a competition. If you have multiple kids, you can make it a competition to see who can, eat the most foods from different colors each day. So it's a fun activity to do. Okay, so what else is needed for a healthy Ramadan? So other than, what's on our iftar plate and on our sahur plate, we want to be sure that we're getting enough movement or exercise. And, this can be a really hard one because obviously we're tired, we may be feeling kind of weak, hungry, thirsty. So the last thing that we're, probably going to be thinking about is exercise. But this can really help us to actually have more energy during the day if we get a little exercise. So the recommendation is 150 minutes per week of physical activity. And, that doesn't have to be, running a marathon or anything. It can just be walking, just taking a brisk walk. There's so many videos online, exercise videos that you can find to do like strength training or, body weight exercises, things like that. And, 150 minutes a week, that's really, if you divide it up, that's just a little over 20 minutes a day, which is not too bad. And you could even divide that up into 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes, in the afternoon. And, or, you could do like 30 minutes, 5 days a week. So you can divide it up however you want, but just making sure that, you get that physical activity is really important. Second one is a somewhat normal sleep schedule. I know, how difficult that can be during Ramadan, especially, but, trying as best we can to sleep after Taraweeh, and that will actually allow us to, we'll end up eating less, right? If we try to sleep after Taraweeh, and, we'll obviously have more energy the next day if we're getting, sleeping earlier, those hours after Taraweeh, the sleep is actually more beneficial during those hours than it is later in the day. Later in the night. So we really want to try to sleep, as early as we can. Staying hydrated, drinking. I like to, in the evenings, I like to fill up a big water bottle and just keep it near me to, remind me to drink. And, you can see this picture here, you can flavor your water with lemon or lime slices or mint or cucumber. Gives it a really lovely taste. Okay, staying hydrated. Yes, that's the third one, staying hydrated. And then avoiding caffeine. So that will help you to sleep at night, if you avoid caffeine. And, obviously you don't want to be dealing with like a caffeine withdrawal, during the day while you're fasting. It will make things even more difficult for you. Okay, so yeah, a few people are saying the slides are blurry. I'm not sure what to do about that. If I blow it up like this, I don't know if that's more clear. I won't be able to see the chats though, but I'll leave it like this for a little bit. Maybe that will be more clear. Okay, so now I wanted us to do a little activity for a few minutes, which is creating a SMART goal. I'm sure many of you have heard of SMART goals. It's a really effective way to set and reach your goals. And so SMART is an acronym. So the S stands for specific, the M is measurable, the A achievable, relevant, and time-based. So this is another handout that I think was emailed out to everybody. If you don't have this yet, you can probably check your email and get this handout. And this is a personal plan worksheet for SMART goals. So on the left here, you want to list your goal and you want to be very specific. And so, for example, let's say I have the goal of I want to eat healthier. Okay, so that's not really a very specific goal. I just want to eat healthier. So you really want to try to make it more specific. So, for example, I might say, I want to include more vegetables in my diet. Okay, so that's much more specific goal rather than just saying, I want to eat healthier. And then you want the goal to be measurable. So how are you going to know that you've reached that goal? What are you going to use to measure? So for example, with the vegetables, I could say, here, let me skip to this one. So I can say for the measurable, I can say, I will eat at least one fruit or veggie from each color every day. Okay, so now I know that if I reach this goal, it's a way that I can define the progress that I've made. And the A is attainable. So, you want to make sure that you can reasonably accomplish your goal within a certain time frame. So you don't want it to be something that is impossible, that, you're never going to be able to obtain. So for this example, the A would be, I will plan my meals ahead so that this goal becomes attainable. So for example, let's say I'm going to plan my meals a week ahead of time, and I'm going to include, at least one fruit or veggie veggie from each color each day in that meal plan, so that it makes it more attainable. And then relevant is another one. So your goals should align with your values and long-term objectives. So in this example, I could say that eating more veggies will give me more energy and better digestion. So it's something that's definitely aligning with my goals, and it is going to be really important for me to, to achieve. And then the last one is the T is for time-based. So set a realistic, ambitious end date, and this will help with your motivation. So in this example, I can say I'm going to try to do this every day for 30 days. Okay. All right. Yeah. So a few people are saying it's clear that when I blow it up, so I'll continue to keep blowing it up. Okay. So what I wanted to ask everybody to do now is to create a SMART goal for themselves, and think of something that during Ramadan that you would like to attain. And it can be anything, it doesn't have to be regarding diet or exercise or any of the things that I mentioned, but just something that resonates with you, that you feel you would like to work on. Okay. And you can use this this kind of chart here to kind of map out your goal. So like I said, you want to be very specific with your goal, and you want it to be measurable. So how are you going to define, that this goal has been accomplished? And you want it to be something realistic that you can actually attain. And then you want to give a timeline that, when am I going to complete this goal, inshallah. So if everybody could just, take a few minutes to think about, and if you want to write in the chat, if you'd like to share what type of goal you'd like to work towards, that would be wonderful. And here I just have some suggestions for SMART goals. I'll blow this up so you can see it better. Okay. So, obviously you want to choose your own SMART goal, because if it's coming, from yourself, obviously, you're going to be a lot more motivated to work towards it. But I just gave you some examples here just to kind of get you thinking. So one might be limiting screen time, either for yourself or for your kids during Ramadan. Another might be getting exercise 5 days a week. So, and once again, you'd want to be very specific, when you're creating that. So you'd want to think about, how are you going to get exercise? What are you going to do? When are you going to do it? What time of day are you going to do it? For how long each day? So the more specific you are in creating that goal, the more likely it is that, you're going to be able to follow through with it, inshallah. Sleeping early is an idea for a SMART goal. And again, you want to be very specific. So you want to try to, think about your day and, what time am I going to sleep? For sahur, what time am I going to get up? Am I going to get up before sahur to do some prayers? And, am I going to go back to sleep after I pray Fajr, or am I going to stay up for a while, or am I going to take a nap maybe between Dhuhr and Asr? Or, so obviously everyone is different, and everyone has to, find out what works best for them and for their families. And, some women have small kids, so maybe babies, or it's going to depend on your individual circumstances. Reading a certain number of pages of Quran daily might be a SMART goal that you could make. And making it very specific, so saying, okay, I'm going to read this much per day, and maybe divide it up. I'm going to read this amount after each prayer, or whatever time of day works best for you. Praying the sunnah prayers might be another one. Saying your morning or evening afkar, or limiting your sugar intake could be another one. So those are just kind of some, just to get you thinking, some examples of a SMART goal that you might want to create. Okay. All right, so Afreen is asking during Ramadan, which time is best for exercise? So actually, because now in the natural health community, there's a lot of talk about fasting. Many of you may have heard of the term intermittent fasting. And this is kind of like the craze now in the natural health community that they're discovering, subhanAllah, there's so many benefits to fasting for our health. And so um, yeah, Iroda says just before Maghrib. That's what I was going to say. So there's a lot of research out showing that exercising just before you break your fast is really beneficial. And and it, like I was saying before, it doesn't have to be anything extremely intense. It can be just taking a brisk walk or, um, you know, doing some stretches, some body weight exercises, something like that. It doesn't have to be very intense. But yeah, just before Maghrib, they say is a really beneficial time to do that. Okay, so does anybody want to share their SMART goal with us if you're interested? And I'm just going to go back into the comments real quick and see what were some other challenges. Um, Cooking nutritious food on a budget. Yeah, so actually for me, this was like when I first came to Saudi Arabia, this was a big struggle for me because a lot of the, quote unquote, like health foods are difficult to find here. And one thing that really helped me with that is trying to kind of alter the way that I cook a little bit to include ingredients that are, found easy to find locally. And so, because of that, I kind of had to change the way that I cook and maybe like the type of spices that I use or the type of, any type of ingredient. I would just kind of try to look at the way people eat locally. Um, and especially maybe not now because nowadays, you know, in most parts of the world, people are not eating very healthy. But if you look, for example, at the traditional dishes of how people used to eat in this region, there's a lot of like, for example, pomegranate and, pomegranate molasses and fig and, some of the salads and things. You can find a lot of things that, things like hummus and fool, using beans. And so there's a lot of like more traditional foods that you can then you can easily find, and it's like cheap to find here. And so I found that that was something that really helped me. And let's see. So there's a comment about craving sugar after iftar. Yeah, I think this is a common one for a lot of people, and I think trying to balance your iftar and including enough protein and healthy fat, that will help with that. So then, even if you are having something that dates or something that has sugar in it, that blood sugar is going to be balanced with the protein and the healthy fats. So, for example, for us, like I like to have smoothies at iftar time, and so I'll put avocado in it and just blend it up in the smoothie, and that's a really great source of healthy fat. Cooking with coconut oil, olive, having a salad and putting like a dressing with olive oil. You can just put like some apple cider vinegar and olive oil and some salt and pepper and herbs and put that over your salad. So, any way that you can include some healthy fats and some protein, that will help to balance that blood sugar. And then, you won't kind of feel that crash after iftar and that craving of sugar. Okay, so another challenge. This is from Zakwan. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Zakwan from Malaysia. She's saying that her biggest challenge is spending a lot of time cooking. So one thing that has helped me with that is in these weeks before Ramadan starts is I'm starting to do a lot of batch cooking. So like last week I just spent a whole afternoon and I made like 3 different kind of soups. So I made lentil soup. I made a vegetable soup that has carrot and sweet potato, and you can use butternut squash. And I made, what was the third one? Tomato soup. I made all of these with bone broth, homemade bone broth, which is really, really nourishing and really good for the gut. And yeah, so I just took like a whole afternoon and I just made up a bunch of soups. And, it's easy because the onion and garlic and all that, you just cut it all up together and then you can use that for each soup. And then I put it into smaller containers and I put it in the freezer. And I'm doing that also with the, I was mentioning the sourdough sambusa that I started making this year. So I made like a huge batch of it and I put a bunch in the freezer. So there's a lot of things that you can prepare ahead of time, like casseroles, or I like to do enchiladas, stews or curries or soups. I like to do, last week I did sourdough waffles and pancakes, and I made like a huge batch, and I put a bunch in the freezer, and then for sahur we can just grab some out of the freezer and warm it up in the oven, and it's like a quick way to have sahur. So yeah, so that has helped me a lot to prepare ahead of time and put stuff in the freezer. And then I think just like trying to be as simple as possible. So I think, maybe a lot of times we feel pressure to have a lot of different dishes every day, but just like keeping it as simple as you can, that will, mean less time in the kitchen. Okay, so let's see about any other comments. Oh, so someone's mentioning about getting hubby on board since he's the breadwinner. This is a challenge for a lot of people as well. Yeah, I think with this one, maybe, just sitting down and kind of having a talk with your husband about, what type of things he's interested, he wants to have for iftar or for sahur. And then maybe, trying to have some kind of like balance, like trying to include the dishes that he likes. And like I said, maybe trying to make a little healthier version of the things that he likes. And I'm sure that he will notice also when you are eating healthier and you're having less sugar and more nutritious foods that, you are going to feel a lot better, during the day. And even, after you break your fast, you're going to feel a lot better. So maybe kind of trying to bring his awareness to how he feels, after he eats something that's not so healthy versus how he eats something healthy. Because, really, in my experience, you can't force healthy eating on anybody. I mean, it has to like come from within. That motivation has to come from within. So just trying to help him to become more aware of how he feels, after he eats healthy foods versus non-healthy foods. That usually always helps me. Okay, so mashallah, Suleiman says she made salsa chicken, Mexican lasagna, soup, curry, and mashallah, you were busy, mashallah. And she froze all of this, so this is really wonderful. Inshallah, that will save you a lot of time. Okay, so we are getting close to the end of our time. Does anyone have any questions for me? Just gonna go back and look in the comments. Iroda mentioned keeping up with Taraweeh daily. Yeah, I find for me, if I can pray in the masjid, there's a masjid that's within walking distance of our house. And if I make the intention that I'm gonna walk there and pray Taraweeh each night, it really, really makes it so much easier. Like when you're at home and you're just praying at home by yourself, especially if you don't maybe know, like for me personally, I haven't memorized a lot of the Quran, so it's difficult for me to keep up with it on my own. But if I'm able to pray in the masjid, or that makes it a lot easier. I wanted to say if you can get together with others and pray together, but if there's no masjid near your house, but obviously during these COVID times that can be really difficult. Okay, I'm gonna go back in the comments and see if there's anything else. If anyone else has any questions, go ahead and put it in the comments. Okay, let's see. Iroda, you mentioned that you also eat the same way in Ramadan as you do outside Ramadan. Yeah, I mean, for me, I know that this can be challenging for people who have grown up like in a Muslim family, and you may have a lot of foods that, you became like very kind of like emotionally attached to having them during Ramadan. I mean, so for me, because I didn't grow up with that, I don't really have any attachment to specific food. So it's like, it's easy for me to just cook the way that I normally would. But, a lot of people, and I can understand this because, for me, for example, I have a lot of foods, like Christmas cookies and, certain foods that we would have at Thanksgiving time, that I feel I associate with those holidays. So I can totally understand how powerful, that can be if you grew up eating certain foods and you just feel like, Ramadan's not the same without them. But I think if you can find, like I was mentioning, if you can find like a healthier version of those foods, that can, make a huge difference. Okay, so the sister's asking, Saida, is canned food good? So, ideally what you would like to do, if you have time and if you're able to do this, is to buy the uncooked full fava beans, okay, and then soak them overnight. So what I do is I just put them in a bowl. I just put like lots of water because they're going to expand when you soak them, and then I add like a splash of apple cider vinegar to the water, to the soaking water, and then I just let that soak overnight, and then the next day I cook it, and that will really help to make the beans more digestible. And there's substances that are in beans and nuts and seeds and grains, basically any type of seed. There's substances in it called anti-nutrients, which actually bind to the nutrients in the food and make it so that your body can't absorb it. So, you could be eating a food that you're thinking is really healthy, but because of those anti-nutrients, you're not actually able to absorb all of those nutrients. So when you soak it overnight, it helps to deactivate those anti-nutrients. And so it becomes a lot easier to digest and more nutritious. So that's what I'll usually try to do is I'll take like a big bag of fool and I'll put it in a huge bowl and I'll put lots of water and then some apple cider vinegar, and I'll soak that overnight. And then the next day, I will, just put it in a huge pan and cook it until it's soft. And then I'll let it cool down and drain it. And then I'll just divide it into smaller bags and I'll put it in the freezer. And then that will last me for months. And then whenever I need, I'll do this with chickpeas as well. And so then whenever I need some, I can just grab a bag from the freezer, and that saves a lot of time and makes it a lot easier. Okay, so Aminat, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing all these names wrong. She's saying that she struggles to eat suhoor. I do eat for the purpose of the blessing in it, but I don't usually have an appetite. Yeah, this is something that I really have struggled with in the past. And I was talking before about the mindful eating, but the problem is like when you wake up for suhoor and you're very tired and you don't feel hungry at all, and then you start eating, it's really hard to practice that mindful eating because since you weren't really hungry to begin with, your body doesn't really give you those cues of, okay, now I'm full, because you weren't really hungry to begin with. So this has always been a challenge for me as well. And a lot, in the past, I would end up eating a lot more than what I think I really need to eat for suhoor, just because of that fact. So what helped me with that is having like something like a smoothie for suhoor. So, you can put so many things, so many nutritious things in the smoothie, especially if you have kids, you can get them. I can't even tell you how many things I've been able to get my kids to eat just by hiding it in a smoothie. So that's a great way, because it's very hydrating as well. And you can just put so many things in it. Like, for example, flax seeds, chia seeds. Like I mentioned before, I put avocado in the smoothie. And lately I started putting beets. It gives it a really beautiful color. So I find that that's a really nice thing to have for suhoor, especially if you're not feeling hungry. And okay, I think actually we're out of time. It's 8:40. So I just wanted to thank everybody for joining me today. As I mentioned before, I'm a health coach. If you want to book a discovery session or check out some of my recipes, you can go to my website. It's drlauraskitchen.com. And I have a lot of healthy recipes on there that you can check out. And Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll pass it back over to Iroda.
Yes, Dr. Lara, mashallah, Jazakallah khair for this very informative session. I'm sure everybody has taken some, tips and, ideas for the iftar and Ramadan meal prep, inshallah. And yep, you can visit Dr. Lara's website, being shared in the comments, also saved in the description box. And with that, we would like to welcome our next speaker to the studio, inshallah. We have joining us Shafina Akhtar of Let's Talk About UK, mashallah. Shafina is a homeschooling mum of 4, and they have recently launched a platform on Instagram where they talk about many concepts and topics that usually get hidden in within our Muslim community. You can check out, they do regular lives with her husband, and I have really benefited from their platform, mashallah. Shafina is here today to deliver a webinar on digital detox, your ultimate guide to have the best Ramadan without distraction, inshallah. Shafina, welcome aboard, and over to you.
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah for having me. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, alhamdulillah. It's clear. Fantastic. Your voice is clear and we can see you, mashallah.
Brilliant, alhamdulillah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So yeah, let's get started. So as Sister Radha said, I'm going to be doing a live about digital detox, your ultimate guide for the best Ramadan. So let's start about screens and electronics. So they can be a valuable source. As we know, we are using this platform for our Ramadan camp. We've got a WhatsApp group where we sort of discuss ideas, put up links, and also we've got a Facebook group. So it can definitely be a beneficial thing. However, it's when we sort of overuse these the electronics that it can become detrimental. Both in terms of our productivity, whether we're at home or whether we're at work, and it can, cause issues in our relationships. So if you're finding you're spending more time on your phone than you are, sort of with your virtual friends, than you are with the people that are present with you, or, if you're finding you're constantly checking your phone, then, maybe it's time to sort of reassess your use, with technology, or if you're finding you're having to hide your use, from your spouse, or things like that, then maybe it's time to sort of rethink how you're spending your time. And like we've all been there, haven't we, where you sat at home, or you're going out for a meal, or maybe a course or something, and you're talking to somebody and they'll just be sat on their phone, and or you'll just get and how does that make us feel that we're talking to them and we're not important, but whoever's that we're not important, but whoever's on that phone is important. So I think we always have to try and remember that, like when you're using your phone, that like we have to try and obviously be present with the people that are there with us at that moment in time. And then I think another issue is information overload. So previously we only knew about things that were happening locally to us, before the internet and things like this. You only knew what was maybe happening in your village, or your local, your neighbors, or just people around you, your sort of close family. Whereas now you will know what's going on across the other side of the world with it, with just a post from Instagram, or checking your news feed. And sadly, most of the time it's really negative things, and really disheartening things of war and famine, and it obviously naturally, as humans, we get really like upset with everything that's happening, and we're constantly being bombarded, and that can lead to a lot of stress. I think the other side of the other thing is also especially with social media, is how things are portrayed. You will always see the best side of things. You will always see, like, for example, for me, I follow a lot of homeschooling accounts, and you'll always see all these brilliant pieces of art being produced, and everyone's got their units all perfectly done, and my child loves to read, and which is great, but you have to kind of remind yourself, and sometimes I get sucked in as well, that, you know, everybody has challenges, no matter how great it might look on social media. Everybody struggles. It's life, right? This is dunya. We all have our ups and downs. You know, nobody puts the negatives up on social media. Very rarely does that happen, because of, you know, people want, I don't know, I guess you don't want to share the negatives, whether that's because, you know, you don't want to shame a child, you know, if they've had a big drop or a tantrum, or you've had a bad day. People like to cover the negatives, and I guess sometimes they like to compete, you know, this is my life and this is so amazing, or, you know, the new cars and the new holidays. It goes on and on. The sort of concept of keeping up with the Joneses. And I think, you know, if you're finding that a social media account is, you know, causing you more stress rather than inspiration, then just unfollow it. Make life easy. You know, we've got enough to deal with, without sort of putting all these extra stresses on ourselves. I'm going to sort of go through a bit of science now. So I like my science. I always like to know the thing, you know, the reason, how everything works, and, you know, just because I think it just makes it more easier to follow if there's a, you know, if there's a good explanation behind it. So, right, with when it comes to social media, and these electronic devices, they are designed to be addictive. Just they have the same reaction on your brain as gambling, as alcohol, as nicotine, all these sort of, you know, addictive things. They actually, this is actually designed to release dopamine. So literally, if you gamble, or, you know, you drink alcohol, and obviously it's forbidden for us anyway, then your brain will have the same effect. You will release a chemical called dopamine, which basically it's this is a chemical that sort of it controls, you know, how you feel pleasure. And what happens is, over time, your dopamine, your tolerance builds up. So you need to use more screens and more screens to get that same sort of pleasure. So that, you know, it makes it very addictive. And the other scary thing is, it doesn't just make it, you know, it doesn't have exactly the same effect. It actually has a stronger effect on the brain. It's sort of like a ping pong machine. It all just lights up. You know, when they've done the scans on the brains using phones, that just, it's really scary, in fact. And the other thing is, if you're finding you're using a lot of screens, is it can be an indicator of underlying problems. You know, whether that's stress, loneliness, depression, and, you know, you try to mask it by going on these screens, just to kind of distract yourself, I guess. But the sad thing is, obviously, you're not dealing with issues like normally. You know, if you're going through stress, you know, you just go and meet somebody and talk to them, you know, over a cup of tea. But that's not happening. Obviously, with lockdown, it's been difficult as well. But because we're not going out for the support, it's just kind of like this vicious cycle. You're feeling stressed, you're feeling anxious, you're going on your phone, more social media, you're getting stressed, and it's just going around. And we know the negative impacts of social media, you know, whether that's depression, anxiety, you know, the list goes on. So yeah, so that brings me on to like my next point. Another issue is sleep. When it comes to using your phones at night or screens, they emit a blue light. Sorry, should have bought some water. And it disrupts your sleep. So what happens is, it interferes with your melatonin production. So that's the hormone that regulates your sleep. And what happens is that let me start again. So the melatonin gets affected, and that regulates your sleep, and then you have a poor quality of sleep. So that's why we strongly suggest, the research says, sort of 9 minutes to an hour before, 90 minutes to 2 hours, 2 hours to 90 minutes even, before you go to sleep. Make sure that you stop your device use. Sorry. Yeah. So what you could possibly do, because obviously it's an ingrained habit now, you could maybe just replace it with a different habit, maybe a book, or maybe just sit and have a conversation with your spouse. Just do something to distract yourself, so you know you're not tempted to go for your phone. Also, maybe leave your phone downstairs. Sorry. Yeah, and then you're less likely to go for it. Obviously, there's less temptation there for you to go for it. So, you know, it's very overwhelming, isn't it, digital detox? Like, you know, where do you even start with it? Like, how, you know, it's so much part of our lives, and we're just constantly on our phones. And I think obviously a lot of us with this pandemic have, you know, resorted to our phones to keep our relationships going, and, you know, which obviously it's been a good thing, but again, overuse can be an issue. So I think the best way to sort of start is not to go cold turkey, because what happens when you go cold turkey is that it's very difficult, isn't it? You get a lot, because it's like a drug, you get a withdrawal effect. So the best thing you can do is So, you know, with Ramadan around the corner, is maybe do like a 7-day detox plan. I'm going to put this on my, I'm going to do a little post on the 7-day detox on my Instagram as well. Just, you know, so you've got another reference point. So on there, you might want, you know, a few ideas for you is that you might want to set boundaries. So, you know, so maybe switch your phone off for a certain amount of time, or, you know, maybe start with maybe invest in a device box where you can like lock it away. Or, you know, I've seen, or, you know, for family time, have a policy of, you know, meal times, no phones. And everybody has to put their phones like on the mantelpiece before you go to bed, or, you know, just whatever works for you and your family. And then other ways that you can sort of, you know, limit your time is, I know this sounds crazy, but I know a lot of people take their phones to the toilet. So don't do that. Don't take your phone to the toilet. Just leave it and just, you know, and then as I said, don't take it to bed. So that's 2 places that you knocked it on the head there. And like the other things you can sort of do is have literally a day off your phone. Just recently, I actually lost my phone. So not lost it, it died, the poor thing. I dropped it that many times, it just completely went. And so I was without a phone for like about 2-3 days. And you know, subhanallah, it was such a beautiful experience. Just, you know, it was so nice not to have it constantly there. You know, you get that itch, like, you know, you need to go check it, like especially since we've got this Instagram platform. You know, you can't help but constantly check on the progress, or, you know, how's that Insta live done, or, you know, how many followers have I got now? I'm only human. We all get sucked in, right? And I think it's, you just appreciate being away from it, and you are just so much more present with your kids, or, you know, with your husband or your family. You're just there, and, you know, you're not just constantly like sort of checking social feeds. I mean, you know, sometimes people, they'll literally like wake up and the first thing they do is check their feeds, or, you know, check the news, or check you know, what's going on around the world, you know, even before they've read the dua to waking up. Because it's just so addictive, and, you know, it's the addictive nature of it. It's a multi-million-dollar industry. They design these devices to be addictive, just like how they do with the sweet industry. They make everything addictive. So I think, like, basically how the best way to see is how can we have a productive Ramadan is limit our time. So, you know, try and do the 7-day detox before you start Ramadan. And I think with Ramadan, like, treat it like a marathon and not a sprint. So, you know, don't, like, if you're not ready to open the Quran you know, all year, and now, you know, suddenly you're going to complete a Quran, well, you know, that's quite a big ask. And, you know, that might be too burdensome for you. So, you know, every day, like, aim for, I remember my cousin always doing this, where she'd basically, for the five namazes, she'd read 5 sides, and then she'd complete it that way. And the way I see it is, like, you should kind of do, it's better to do less and do it regularly and keep that habit up all year. So, you know, I'm not saying, obviously, you know, don't try to make the most of this month, but also look at your situation. Everybody has a different situation. So, you know, like, your best friend might, you know, be able to complete, you know, 3 Qurans, and, you know, do 70,000 zikrs, you know, and great. That's her, and that's her, you know, that's her in her lane. We've all got our own lanes, and our aim shouldn't be sort of trying to better anybody else, but we should try and better ourselves from last year. So, you know, if you didn't do much zikr last year, sort of, you know, as what you will find, I promise you, is as soon as you cut down on your social media time, like, literally, you will find so much more space, more time in your day. Literally, like, the research shows, 3 hours on average, people spend 3 hours and 16 minutes on their phones. And that statistic isn't, like, for America, it's even longer. I remember reading it's about 5 hours. So 5 hours of their day are spent on the phone. And sometimes it's not even continuous, like, it might even just be like chunks here and there, but it soon adds up. You know, so reducing your social media time will definitely, you know, give you a lot more time in during the month of Ramadan to, you know, like, you'll have pockets of time where you can do zikr, or, you know, whether you want to do like a small amount each day, but what to do is make sure you have a fixed time and a fixed place. Or sometimes, if you do find you just have like a random pockets of time, you know, you're waiting for the kids to finish from school and you're parked outside, then, you know, use that time instead of, normally you'd probably go for your phone, right? So, but now you've got this time, you might as well use it to praise your Lord and get more goodies, you know, during Ramadan. So, yeah, definitely those pockets of time, use them for your zikr. You know, it's brilliant. You can't really go wrong with that. With the Quran, you could, you know, you're going to find what works for you. If you're, you know, if you're early bird, and, you know, after Fajr, if that's the time you want to get some sabak done when it's nice and quiet, then do that. But as I said, everyone's journey is individual. Like I know for me, alhamdulillah, with 4 kids, homeschooling, and a few other things, I have to like really reflect on my journey and sort of see what's going to work for me, where I'm not going to be overloaded and feel under so much pressure. Because another thing with social media is, a lot of sisters, mashallah, they're doing brilliant work, like showing all the crafts and things, but sometimes it can subconsciously put a lot of pressure on you as well, that like, oh my goodness, these guys are doing such an amazing job, like you feel inadequate, like, oh my gosh, I haven't done, I haven't made I haven't made some binoculars with my kids to look at the Ramadan moon. I've not bought any more books. I've only got the same books from last year. Or you can't help but sort of sometimes feel a bit inadequate. But to be honest, I'm going to be honest with me, like some years, we go all out, we'll do all the crafts, and we'll have a really nice sort of build up. Other years we won't, and that's okay, because what, like our primary sort of goal with Ramadan is to replenish ourselves, recharge our batteries Islamically, and to build that love for our children. And another thing that, like, looking back at my own childhood, I can tell you that, like, I remember the iftaris and the sehris, and I was the last one that used to get up. Like my parents would keep shouting me, Shafina, wake up, Shafina, wake up. And I'm like, oh, when you got that last shout that, Shafina, are you gonna wake up or not? I'd be like down like a shot, like, okay, better get down now. And yeah, like obviously the food and everything like that, and just the sukoon, that just the sukoon of like listening to the Quran just constantly on. The kids take it doesn't matter if you don't do the crafts. Honestly, it's a nice little crafty thing to do, but if you don't, it's okay. It doesn't really matter, because they take away so much more. When they see you praying, when they see you doing zikr, when they see you incorporate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala into your life, you know what? They will just copy that. They will mimic that. Like the 2-year-old, as soon as I put my prayer out, he's there and trying to do his sujood, and you just like they pick up on all that. So I think the sort of like one of the take home messages would be just be a good role model. It doesn't matter, don't put extra pressure on yourselves. Whatever you can do it, and you do it comfortably, because there is a lot of pressure out there, and I feel like Ramadan's it might be a bit controversial, but sometimes it can almost be a bit like Christmassy, where it's like becoming so commercial. And I obviously appreciate a lot of the sisters are Ramadan is a time when books, like all the books sell, and it's quite a busy time of year for them, so obviously they hand it out to all the social media accounts. But if financially you can't afford it, because obviously books add up as well, or you're just feeling too overburdened, or you just had a new baby, and it's all a lot, it's getting too much, then don't put too much pressure on yourselves, because the biggest goal is to recharge your batteries. And if you're getting overwhelmed, then you're not going to do a great job of recharging yourself. So yeah, I think that's like it pretty much. Just see if I missed anything. Yeah, so as I said, I'm going to put on the on my Instagram account, I'll be putting up a 7-day detox. So in that, I'll include things like turning off your phone notifications, because as soon as you get that beep, what happens is it actually releases it causes that release of dopamine, the feel, that hormone that helps with the pleasure and reward. So obviously as soon as you hear it, you want to go check it. So that'll help reduce the temptation if your notifications are off. Another thing is you could just delete some of the apps, like for example, if you delete Instagram off your phone and just put it on your laptop, then that kind of can limit how much you check it. And other things you could do, as we said, it was the 1-day sabbatical. So basically 1 day a week, just don't use it at all. Maybe on a Sunday when your husband's at home, or you've got family around or something, where you're not worried about someone trying to get hold of you. I think like one thing I always struggle with is if I leave my phone at home, that day will be the day somebody rings me, and then they'll be like, it's usually one of my brothers that are trying to get hold of me, and then I'll get told off, why don't you answer your phone? But like, at least if you've got a partner or somebody with you, then if anyone's trying to get hold of you, they can, and you've got that peace of mind. Yeah, and then with emails, again, you can like do automatic replies, and so you're not worried, because if that email says so is not available, you're not available, right? And then you're not stressing that, oh goodness, what if my inbox is filling up, and because sometimes, especially the sisters that are working from home, everything gets blurred, doesn't it? Where like work gets blurred into homeschooling gets blurred into life, and it's very easy, especially with a lot of people working at home from home as well now. So I think make sure you have clear boundaries in place for things, and have fixed and set times for when you do things, and inshallah you will have a very productive Ramadan. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And also we did do a digital detox a lecture yesterday on my account, but that was aimed at more about children and how we can sort of manage their Ramadan and be good role models, and sort of the dangers of some of the devices, and how we need to monitor it, and how we need to come up with the Ramadan plan for our children. So it was kind of a nice carry on from this. So do check that out as well, please. And I hope that inshallah you all benefit from this, my lovely sisters. And I'd just like to say Jazakallah to Sister Iroda and her team for in this camp how it's been amazing. Jazakallah.
MashaAllah, Jazakallah khair. And I'd like to ask also our audience if they have any questions about, how to spend Ramadan without gadgets or devices. Or for me, the best tip somebody gave me a while ago was, not to use your phone the first thing in the morning when you wake up, and the last thing in the evening before you go to bed. Yeah, inshallah. Like if you can avoid these 2 times, it would be the best thing, like you said, take baby steps, right? Nowadays, like subhanallah, I was like counting my time, and obviously my work depends a lot on social media, right? So it kind of like, I got so entangled, and it was taking me up to 4 hours a day to, share here, there, outreach to people, or answer their inquiries, respond to their messages. And there's just so much to do. Up to 4 hours a day is just like, oh my God, it's like full-time job nearly. But really, I think as long as like I'm gonna do baby steps, and not use it the first thing in the morning when we wake up, and the last thing before we're going to bed, if we can avoid these times, at least then, like, it doesn't affect your sleep that much. And also it's not the first thing that you look at in the morning, because straight away you get distracted, right? Straight away. And if you are, if mom's tuning in, like I'm sure you can relate with me that it makes you feel that even children are like a burden, inconvenience. You kind of enjoying your time, and here comes, whinging and whining. So, like you said, we just turn to it for escaping, for like, subhanallah, it just takes you into a different world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the other thing that you made some really good points about the waking up and at night, and that, like, I remember reading some research that like we don't allow our brains to naturally wake up. When we like straight away when we put the phone on, then it forces our brains to wake up in a very unnatural way. And you probably notice that you're more sort of, I don't know, the best way I can explain it is groggy. Your brain's groggy when you sort of use your phone first thing. Whereas if you let your brain sort of wake up, if you wake up naturally, you feel just so much more fresher. And you don't the thing is, a lot of the times we don't even realize our relationships with social media or with tech. We just because it's become so normal to us. Like even for me, to be honest, like I obviously with the platform, it does end up taking a lot of my time up. And when I had those 3 days off, it just really it really sort of opened my eyes up, like, oh my goodness, this is life without technology. And it was just so much more relaxed and just so much more present, and it just makes you appreciate, like, and it makes you want to be more mindful of it. And I think me and my husband, we were sort of discussing some strategies as well. And one of the things we said that was, maybe just have a sort of a regular a fixed slot that, for this half an hour I'm going to use my phone, and I'm going to check my social media, because it's okay, it's not the end of the world to go and check your social media or check your feeds, because there's a lot of beneficial things on there. But it's sort of trying to regulate it, because obviously it is addictive. And especially during the month of Ramadan, there's so much more that we can be doing. And I think like one of the other things was like your soul, like everything that you do, everything that you see, you hear, affects you and affects your soul, affects your iman. So we have to be really careful of what we follow, because not just that, then you got the adverts as well of all sorts of that get put on with the reels and on Instagram and all these other apps and things. So we just have to be very careful, and especially during the month of Ramadan, you want to sort of you want to really boost your iman. So the best way you can do that is by limiting your social media.
Yeah, mashallah. Jazakallah khair for your time, and alhamdulillah, we took many valuable tips from your session. I don't think we have questions. I'm going through comments. We don't have any questions. So, inshallah, we will now be welcoming our next guest speaker. Jazakallah khair, Shafina, and
Jazakallah. Thank you,
inshallah,
Auntie.
we'll keep in touch. Inshallah.
Inshallah. Allah Hafiz.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And with that, let me welcome you, our next guest speaker, mashallah. And she is one of my friends, actually. She is Hala Abdullah. She is a homeschooling, I would say seasoned homeschooling, veteran homeschooling mum of 3. They are originally from Egypt, mashallah, but she has been moving around Middle East, and I also had the honor of meeting her when I was living in Riyadh, mashallah. She's moved around Middle East, and her boys, 3 homeschooled boys, run their own YouTube channel as well. And Hala is with us here today to deliver an interactive workshop about making Quran tracker. Yeah. So, how many of you will read Quran in Ramadan? If any kids are joining in, we all want to read Quran. Yeah, we all want to. We start off high, and then we kind of get a little bit less motivated towards the end of the month. And one way to keep up your motivation is making a fun but simple family Quran tracker. And that's what Hala is here today. Hala, welcome aboard, and the studio is yours.
Thank you, Iroda. Jazakallah khairan. I'm so excited today, to meet these sisters, and welcoming Ramadan after 10 days. A few years ago, like 3 years ago, my kids started to get older and I wanted them to read Quran, and to track them. So I did this Quran tracker and it was really helpful for them and they were so excited to finish Quran, reading Quran, So today I will show you how we made it. I made a short video to show you how we can make one and each family can make their own. And I can play the video twice. The first time you can see the process and then you'll see the end. Then I can play it back again if you need more details about how you can make it. So let me.
Yeah, if you can open your video,
Yes.
inshallah, then I'll add it to the screen.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see it. Yes,
Okay.
Is it playing now?
Yeah. I will just explain while I'm playing the video.
Okay.
First, we need like 6 papers. You can choose different colors. You can choose 2 colors. You can choose 1 color. And then we will cut them. And these ones, I cut them by 4 centimeters wide. And this will be how many juz for Ramadan. Then you can make your own design, like to make it looks like Islamic design. And you can start decorating it. As you can see, I did this last year. This is how they looked. And then this roll of paper, I got them from IKEA. They sell them. I needed around 150 centimeters, which is like this tall. I folded the paper. Then I folded this back to make a space to put something inside this. And then we got our papers that we cut before, and we will put them inside the fold that we did. Now these we can use them to stick on the walls. They don't make any marks on the walls because I had a lot of issues, with the glue and tapes and everything, to take them off. They really disaster. So now this is how it looked in the end. This was our uh, last year, and here how you see this one I made them today. This is how it looked like from 1 to 30. It is 30 juz for Ramadan. And you can make papers with the names. You can, like each one has his own name. And because we are reading with Arabic, because we are Arabs, so our direction will be from the right to left. You can do yours from left to right. So when you finish reading juz of Quran, you just move your name to the number of juz. How many juz did you read? Like, if you are in your first juz, second juz. Every day, like when you finish reading, you can just move till you finish reading Quran. And this is when we get excited and we can start all over again from the beginning. So this was this was 2 years ago, and that's it. So I can read the questions now, and if you need any help doing this, I know it will take like 2 hours to do it. Shall I explain it again? So it is 30 juz, and we need 30 trackers. I will play it again. I think, like, first you get the 6 papers. It's the A4, and you cut them 30 to get 30, 10 from each color, 10 pink, 10 blue, and 10 gold. How many? One paper can make, if it is 4 centimeters, the A4 paper can make like 7, I think. Yes, you do one tracker for the whole family. It is like a competition. In the Quran, وَفِي ذَلِكَ فَلْيَتَنَافَسُ الْمُتَنَافِسُونَ. So, reading Quran, we have a competition who will read more. This is the one that I did today for our coming Ramadan, inshallah. I like to make it like each 10 juz with a color. You can make each 5 juz with a color. You can make all of it with one color, but making it like 3 different colors will make it more exciting for the kids. Like I'm in the blue color, I'm here in the pink color, I'm the yellow color, they really, you really like it, and mashallah, they get excited to move to the next juz, and sometimes you just, you know, suddenly you find yourself behind and they are running, you know, like mashallah, they are like to read. And this is the names, you know, like these are the names, each one of the family, you know, he has his own name. And you see, like I made a space for it to go in the fold. Abdul Mu'min, this is my youngest. So you just move. And that's it. Then, you know, like, mashallah, so they really like it and they get excited about, you know, moving themselves, you know, and who will read and make them track their reading Quran. So,
MashaAllah, it is indeed a really great idea, Abdullah. You really inspired me. Inshallah, I think I'm gonna be making this tomorrow. This is my goal, inshallah, to make it for the family. Could you also share with us, you know, like you have young children, and mashallah, we have
yes.
a lot of young audience joining us today. Other than this Quran tracker, how do you motivate, you know, your boys to read Quran? Do you have any incentives? Like, do you give money like some parents do? Like, for example, we also, every time children finish Quran, like me and my husband, we just give 100 riyal each, right? Or do you just tell them nasiha? How do you get them?
Yeah, sometimes I give them money. Last year I told them, you know, like, mashallah, if you finish, we can just get a gift. So in the end, I gave them the money. I didn't tell them in the beginning I will give them money, but whoever finished, I gave them money. So they wouldn't read the Quran just for the money. But the first year I did this, I know they like the dried fruits, the pineapple dried fruits. So I got them a lot of it, and I said, because you are reading Quran, you know, and you finished it or you read a lot of it, so your mouth needs something sweet for it. So, you know, they really was in Eid, you know, they got this in Eid and they were so excited with the dried fruits.
Yeah, mashallah, mashallah.
And for younger ones, you know, we read Quran together. I'm trying to help, you know, when they are younger, we just read the Quran together. And you know, I just ask them for one juz, you know, because they are still young and they are struggling. Especially they read the juz, you know, like when my son was younger, like 2 3 years ago, I make him read juz amma because this is the juz that he memorized, and I give him the gift if he finished reading it. You know, it depends on the age. You give them the prices, you know.
Hmm. Also, how, you know, can you tell us more about, because we've now got time, right? Mashallah. So I'm
Yes,
just
it
taking
seems so.
advantage of that time. Yeah, mashallah. So what is the, you know, Quran reading like tradition in your family? You know, like what times do you read? Do you stay up like some families do after Fajr? Do you stay up and read after Fajr? Or you know, do they read on the mobile, or do they read on the like
No,
the
we
actual
prefer.
mushaf?
I got each one his own mushaf, you know, and to read with his book, you know, and he has his name on sticky notes on it, you know, to make it like a gift for them in the beginning of Ramadan. Each one has his own Quran and they are start reading. Um, and you know, mashallah, yeah, they read from the Quran. I see a question. So this make intention not for Allah? No, it is for Allah, and mashallah they know. But sometimes, uh, you just, after a while, you can stop reading or you feel lazy. So you get excited and you say, yes, I will read them. It's just visual thing. It's just a visual tracking.
Yeah, it makes it easier to like,
Yeah.
keep track for, yes, visual like aid, and also
Yeah.
a means of motivation, right? Like competition, encourage that competitive.
Yeah. And
Uh,
you don't tell them from the beginning that you will give them a gift. You're just making it, to track the reading of Quran. I said, yeah, I will give you dried fruits. It is something not like they will, reading 30 juz for dried fruits. They would like it. And they were so happy to get it, but they were reading Quran because they want to finish reading Quran in Ramadan to take the
mm,
ajr for that.
yeah, mashallah. And can you just mention their ages and do they actually complete the Quran? Yeah,
Yeah,
cover to
because
cover
we're
in.
Arab, because we're Arabs, so Arabic is our first language. And my kids are, this year, they are 16, 14, and 10. So the youngest one, he will be, maybe he will try to finish this year because last year he did like 5 or 10 juz reading. But the older ones, yeah, they, mashallah, they finished reading the Quran, the whole Quran. Alhamdulillah. Uh,
Yeah.
we have, I will share it with you. We have a book um, about the fasting. This is when I can see how I share it with you. It's a book. It's about fasting and the fiqh of fasting. Uh, in the beginning of Ramadan, when they were younger, I made a slide, PowerPoint slides about Ramadan, why we fast in Ramadan, what is the most important in Ramadan, Laylatul Qadr, and Al Jannah, and how we keep it, you know. How we our ibadas, we take the ajr like 10 times more than the normal times. I collected all these informations and I put them in a PowerPoint slides. And before Ramadan, we sat and we made it like a presentation for them about Ramadan. But now they are older, so we got the book about fasting, about the fiqh, and they are reading and discussing it. And because they have they are older and they need to take care about certain stuff in their fiqh about Ramadan. So, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, mashallah. Allahumma barik. May Allah
Amen.
preserve them. May Allah
Amen.
accept it from them, and may Allah put khayr and barakah,
Amen.
mashallah. And so you do you do the tafsir for children as well, right?
Yes, yes, we do tafsir because they ask a lot, and alhamdulillah, I have a little knowledge. So if I know it, I tell them. But if we don't, we just keep searching and looking and reading. And we started the Sira because we are a homeschooler. We part of our history curriculum for this year is the Sira and the Islamic history. So we
Mm,
started taking the battles and everything, uh, opening of the the Islamic nation, how they got wide till from China till Spain and the different ages. So it was like introduction to Ramadan, alhamdulillah.
yeah, mashallah. Allahumma barik. We
Yeah.
have just one question
Yes.
coming up. Which tafsir is best for kids?
Uh, for kids, I think they have like small ones for kids, but for me, I just yeah, I get the big ones like tafsir al-Jalalain,
Mm,
something simple for them, and I explain it to them. But there are some tafsirs for kids, but I don't have the names in my head now.
mm. In
Yeah,
English, for very small, depending on your child's age. So
yeah,
when my kids were very, very small, we used Ad-Duha mini tafsir series.
yeah.
And what they did was they produce like a small book for each surah of the Juz Amma. And so
Mashallah.
it's like, each surah, it comes with like a separate small booklet, yeah. And also in English, these are like tafsir books for children in English. We have Yahya Emmerich's children's illustrated tafsir of the Quran, and this is very good, mashallah. We really like this book, and it's got like simple illustrations, but the explanations very in detail. It's a thick book, and when they're older, they can read like Ibn Kathir's English translation of tafsir. It's very good as well. Like I think children 14 can read this. Like my daughter is 14 and she can read the Ibn Kathir's tafsir. Also not very complicated, explained in a very simple language, mashallah. Jazakallah khair for your time. Hala, mashallah. It was nice connecting to you once again virtually, mashallah. Allahumma barik. And I hope that we will keep in touch and do more things together in the future, inshallah.
Yes, inshallah. I can keep the video if you want. I can share the video so you can, if someone wants to make it, they can just get back to the video.
Yes, that would be lovely. That would be lovely. Like I got really inspired. I have everything, all the colored papers, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, it's so easy and so simple.
Yeah, definitely. And it will encourage the whole family to eat together, to compete with one another, and you can see it daily who is on with what Jews, right? And to get into competitive mood, mashallah. Allahumma barik. Jazakumullah khair, Hala, once again. Alhamdulillah, it was really nice talking to you, alhamdulillah. And everybody else, Jazakumullah khair for tuning in to today's live. And we have just one final day tomorrow on day 4, and we have, mashallah, another lovely speakers. We have a poetry session tomorrow with 2 sisters who run Islamic Poems platform on Instagram. We also have author of Turning the Tide, Sumadin, delivering interactive creative writing session. So do tune in to tomorrow's session. It's also the last session, mashallah. So day 3 is over, and we look forward to welcoming you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.